Today's song is called Requiem. We're gonna listen to this stuff. If I would just throw in my first guess for all of this, I don't want to say anything wrong. This sounds like a typical song I call the Dark Souls bonfire. Some of these albums, I think especially Galneryus does this sometimes, I'm aware of that. This is somewhat in the middle. And we had this battle and darkness and suffering before, and there's just something, a calming space in between before we get to the second half of the grand storyline. And this is what I call the Dark Souls bonfire, because it's just a spot to sit down and meditate on what has happened and just to get ready for what's to come. I think it started off pretty beautifully with the piano here, tastefully interwoven with all those layers that are coming in. Also, I think what I wanted to say about Shu's guitar, compared to the other songs at least we've heard so far, it sounds really warm. Like, I'm not an expert on guitar tones or something, but I think it's a really fitting, soothing choice for this kind of song. But we're gonna listen to it again. I wouldn't even call it like something I've never heard, something really original or whatever, but it just is so powerful. No matter how often you do it, that's a cool intro. I needed a tissue, I'm crying, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure, like, structure-wise, this just had to be the spot where the main melody of the song is introduced. So I think this is the main melody. And there will be later iterations where it will probably get more and more dramatic. That's at least what I expect going into this right now. Do you also hear the bass here? Of course, there is some bass solos and whatever, but in this type of music, especially in Galneryus, you usually don't hear that much of the bass because it's mostly playing in the same rhythm as the guitar does, but it's just very audible here. It's also what I often heard in video games, for example, where you also had these bass lines in the background, which were just way more important than just to mimic the guitar sound or whatever. Then also we had this cool interplay with the piano again coming in. I think this time it was with strings. Let's move back a bit. It didn't wait for like the bass and guitar part to end. It just came and it flew into each other pretty nicely. They're not doing much to add to the first iteration here, I would guess. At least it doesn't feel like that to me. But it's just that the piano just plays a bit more stuff with that reverb on it. That's already enough. It sounds so damn good. Bro, stop! I don't want to say that's pretty much what I expected, because that would imply that I was expecting how it like exactly sounded like. Those are just the kinds of songs which just take the melody and make it more and more dramatic, and this is pretty much what I meant. We had a solo here of Shu who just went crazier and crazier, like not even in a shred kind of way. It's just the emotion here. It's kind of funny as well, because if you know Shu a bit, if you have seen his persona a bit, it's this kind of quirky personality with all those funny faces and poses, and he kind of sometimes makes fun of this really dramatic side he brings to his playing and his stage presence and his music. But you cannot do something like this without being a really dramatic person on the inside. You cannot do something like that ironically. not just the guitar solo here, it's the piano playing this companion thing is just as important as the guitar playing the solo. it's so cool, man. There we got the shred. That last bend. You know, sometimes you just need to take a step back and just like listen to something like this, like precisely stuff like this. I'm really excited later after listening to all the studio versions to listen to something like this in live, because I'm pretty sure it will be amazing. What I also like production wise here was the strings in the background, which sounded really good in this ending part. And then it kind of faded off with the guitar playing some weird phrases. Yeah, and I also like that last bend he did. And yeah, the shred part, I don't know, it didn't sound that creative or whatever. He just played so many notes. I don't even know what he played. Yeah, it started off with this tremolo, right? Like, it wasn't even tasteful or something. He just, I don't know, he played up and down the scale or something, or just repeated stuff all the time. But he played so many notes and it was fitting just because the emotion was there, right? It didn't really matter what he played. It's starting to flicker. It has a bit of flickering. It's just to fade out of the song a bit, you know. I don't know, it has a bit of that. So, of course, in an instrumental song, we don't really have any lyrics here. The only thing we have is the sound of the song and the title of the song. And what has happened before. I think I don't have to reiterate it. I think Requiem is pretty self-explanatory here when we're dealing with the death of comrades, and it really makes sense here. I think it's just one speculation I can throw into the pot. The lyrics of the last song kind of implied, at least in my eyes, you kind of have to let your old self behind. The self which went into this battle has to die, in other words. This doesn't mean that you have to die a biological death. It's just the self that went into this battle has to die, so the new self in shining armor can come forth. It doesn't just have to be a song for the dead comrades. Musically, it's not that clear here, but it was definitely the bonfire I was hoping for, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.